Are you thinking about going full-time but are worried that your cats might not be able to come with you, or you might have to rehome them and it's breaking your heart?
In this video, we're going to show you how we transition our 4 cats, 2 indoor and 2 outdoor feral cats into happy camper cats. Hi, we're Steve and Erica Puvalowski with the Raider Road Warriors. We travel full-time in an RV with our 4 cats, traveling to job sites throughout the United States.
After watching this video, you're going to get ideas of how we transitioned our cats, behaviors they might exhibit, and products that we recommend that will help with the process. Living with your cats on the road is possible, and I'm glad I proved myself wrong and got to keep my whole kitty crew together. This video is part of a series about how we transitioned our cats into full-time living. Make sure you watch those videos next. They'll be linked in the description below, along with the products that we recommend. First, I want to let you know that all of our cats act differently from how they did in our sticks and bricks, and we didn't think 2 of them would be able to make it on this trip, and they did. So give it a chance and just introduce the things that you're going to try to train them with slowly and let them get used to the routine. There'll be a lot of meowing and crying at first, but ours did stop. It might have took a couple months, but we're all living happily on the road now.
2 of our cats, Rosca and Squeak, we had since they were 3 months old. We trained them in car rides, on leashes, ever since they were kittens. Transitioning them to the RV lifestyle was pretty easy. We took them on the first couple of camping trips. They loved it. They had birds and squirrels to watch and adventure. They were very easy to transition over.
And then there's Daisy and Diesel. Those were our 2 outside feral cats. We met them when they were around 6 weeks old and their mother was around, and she said, "Don't you listen to those humans, you listen to me, they're evil." So they didn't let us touch them. We could just watch from afar. And we got them fixed when they were around 6 months old, and that's the first time they went into a cage, and it was terrible. Diesel completely freaked out. I didn't know what was going on. And Daisy flipped out and gave herself a bloody nose. She had blood all running down her little face when I took her to the vet to get her fixed. And we had to put them in our house for 4 days while they were healing from the procedure. And so I got medicine to sedate them from the vet. And that was the first time we actually really got to touch them. Diesel would let us touch him like outside and do scratchy head, but Daisy never let us even get close. So they started living indoors at night, and then they'd go outside in the morning. We couldn't say the word outside because they would start meowing like crazy. They ate their wet food and they wanted out the door, and then they'd come in around midnight every single night. Now we took Rosca and Squeak into the RV and got them used to it, and then we took them on camping trips. So at the same time I was trying to get Daisy and Diesel to even walk into the RV, they wouldn't do it. Our RV was at our property, at our business that we own, and Rosca and Squeak would go into the different buildings. Daisy and Diesel never would. They would sit outside, and they're like, "I don't trust that. That's a building, not going inside there." How I got them to start going in the RV is I would have Rosca and Squeak inside of the house, and I'd leave the door open, I'd turn off all the lights, and I'd lay on the couch, and I'd call them, and they'd run in, check it out, run back out. Run in, check it out, maybe get a little scratchy head, and then run back out. So I let them explore it, but they wouldn't stay in long. And then I trained Rosca and Squeak inside the RV. I put them in there, we shut the door, and I'd put Daisy and Diesel's food underneath the RV so they got comfortable hanging out around it, and they would sleep underneath of it while we were sleeping inside. How I started training them is I would have Rosca and Squeak wouldn't be in there, and I would call them in, and then when they came in there, I'd have Steve shut the door really quick. So they would be locked in there with me, and then I would massage them and talk to them and make them feel comfortable, and they'd run around and meow, but they would sniff stuff out. And they started getting comfortable, but then I'd let them back out. And then the next day we'd do it again, but I'd make them stay in there a little bit longer. And after we did this for a while, then I told Steve, we got Daisy and Diesel in, and I told him to bring Rosca and Squeak, shoved them all in, and I slept in there with them. Well, I tried to. There wasn't much sleeping. And I wore earplugs most of the night because Diesel just cried all night long. And that's what I thought, that he would never get over the crying, but he actually did.
Now during the training of cats that aren't normally indoor cats or camper cats, it's going to feel very uncomfortable. Erica kept working with them all the way through. I was like, there's no way this isn't going to work. But slowly she made progress, and we're at leap years ahead of what we started out with.
The nights that we slept in the camper, I made sure the morning routine was the exact same as in the house. We fed them in the morning, and I would ask them if they want to go outside. They meowed like always, and instead of just opening the door and letting them run for safety, I gave them their little pets and massaged them, and then they just kind of walked out the door and then they stuck around. It wasn't anything different than the house. They had the exact same feeling going forward. They got used to coming into the camper. They'd hang out for a little bit and then walk back out on their own. And that happened for about a month or 2 months before we actually hit the road. And that was really good. That was a big step for us, but we still didn't think that they were going to be able to come with us. We had plan B, and we were trying to find someone where we could rehome them if they weren't going to make the trip. Squeak saw all his toys come over here, and he thinks he's going for a walk because he's our adventure cat. To start off, I went to the vet and I told them that I was going to hit the road and I needed some ideas of what I needed to do to transition my cats. The first thing we did is microchip them. It was around $50 a cat. It's about a little rice size microchip that they insert behind the shoulder. I always thought it was like $500, so I never did it before. And then she suggested collars, and I didn't want a collar because I always heard if a cat had a collar they could hang themselves, so she said breakaway. We did get the little breakaway collars, and we got them with their name and our phone number on them, and we started having them wear them about 10 minutes, 20 minutes before they went out in the morning, 30 minutes until they got used to it in case we were going to do these. This was a backup plan. I wasn't really sure. Then we also got them all harnesses. These were different than the ones that Roscoe and Squeak used to wear. I made sure they all had a different color so it was fitted to that cat because we used to switch back and forth, and Squeak is very fluffy but he's very skinny and the other cats are broad. And then we put our phone number underneath, and we started trying to just have them play with something wearing their harness, and Daisy acted like she couldn't walk for, I don't know, a week or two. She just laid there on the couch like, I can't do anything. So that might be normal. Squeak never had a problem with a harness, and Diesel too, he acted like he couldn't walk. Our vet also gave us a prescription for ACE, is the short version of this, I can't really pronounce it, and it's a sedative to give the cats to help them relax. And we use this when we travel in the car. If we're in a location for a month and then we travel again, Daisy and Diesel definitely get it on the first day because they're very afraid. Day 2, they may or might not get it depending on how they acted, and day 3, they definitely don't need it because they're getting used to the routine. If we're traveling all the time, they don't get it, but with that long period, that long break, they definitely need it, at least on day 1. Another thing is we spray the cages before we leave with this pheromone spray, and you let it sit for half an hour, and then we load the cats in there, and it's supposed to be the pheromone that the mother gives off to the kittens. It makes them feel comforted and it calms them down. This works very well. Then catnip, they love their little catnip. And then we bought some toys. Daisy and Diesel were mousers, and Daisy, I don't know how many mice she would kill. She'd go across the farm field every single day. She would sleep, get up, go kill a mouse, come back, you know, repeat, sleep, kill a mouse, come back, sleep, kill a mouse, come back. And they also would dig in the cement. There was little holes and they would dig for frogs, and their chins would be all scraped up on the cement. So we know that they needed something where they could dig. So we looked for interactive toys that were battery operated, that could come on their own or we could turn on, and that they could play and keep them entertained.
Now we have cats looking at us wondering if they're going to play with the toys up here on the table.
They're like, come on, what's going on? When we first did the initial move into the RV, it was winter and we went into a shed, and all the cats were completely freaked out by this, even Roscoe and Squeak. And when they're very afraid, they don't meow or anything. They just hid for their lives for about 5 days, and I thought, wow, this is great. They're not even scared. They're not even meowing. Well, once they got comfortable with the RV, then they started meowing a lot. Well, then they calmed down, and we eventually opened the door to the RV into the shed. It was a very clean shed, and it gave them an area to run. And that time, it really gave them the opportunity to get comfortable with the whole camper. And then they had a window seat. They could run around and play with their toys. And that was November, the end of November, so at least December, January, February, March. We were in there for a full 4 months, and that gave Daisy and Diesel enough time to get comfortable with not being outside and forgetting about their outside lifestyle to becoming indoor cats. And then in April, when it got warm, Roscoe. In April, when it got warm, we transitioned into the new RV. We brought Roscoe and Squeak in here. They're like, cool, party, new place to hang out. Daisy meowed a whole bunch, Diesel went and hid. But that transition was very quick. It was about a week they were only scared compared to, it was like months in the other RV that it really took them. So once they got used to not being outside and being in the RV, it worked out. It went pretty quickly. And then we went and hit the road for our first job, and that was the big test to see how are the cats going to handle this. Are we going to have to leave Daisy and Diesel behind? And that went a lot better than we thought. We did give them Ace the first day and the second day, and by the third day they were perfectly fine. And we actually found that they were very entertained by the squirrels and the birds outside, and they had a great time. And they were so tired from playing all night that they slept all day. They actually did a lot better than we thought, and they seemed to really enjoy it.
It seemed like once we started traveling to different campsites, the cats realized that, oh, we're not going to the vet.
Oh, yeah.
I can enjoy this car ride because there might be some squirrels and birds where we're going to.
One of the things that we did in both of the campers before the cats went in there is we got these plug-ins. It's the same stuff as the pheromone spray, but there's a plug-in that goes in there. We put one of these in our camper and then one in the shed where they were at. And then before we moved into our new RV, we let these go for about a week before we brought the cats in there. And I really think this helped them calm down when they came in because the whole camper smelled like the pheromones. Every morning Diesel is scared. I have to make him, he has to be under a fort. If he doesn't have a blanket fort for safety to get away from the vacuum, the monsters, Steve walking on the roof, whatever's going on besides a bird or squirrel outside, he needs a fort to run to. So he hides underneath of our recliner chairs, or I make a little fort on the side of the bed for him. That's usually where he sleeps all day, and then Daisy just hangs out on a fort that we make on the couch for her. But she's not scared, she just hides in it, I think, for the darkness. The next big obstacle that we needed to do is get the cats used to walking on their harness and to go for backpack rides. Again, Rosca and Squeak, that was never a problem. They both grew up in a backpack, but Daisy, oh my, she hated it. We tried it in the winter a couple times, but it's too cold. She doesn't like wind in her face, and it was like cold wind blowing. So in April, when we went on our first trip, this is August when we're filming this, Daisy hated the backpack. I couldn't believe once she wasn't whining and crying, but she kind of just screamed. She's like, "Aah!" Like that's Daisy. When she doesn't like something, you know it. And we were talking to someone about their truck because we were getting a different truck, and she actually didn't scream and like enjoyed it. And Diesel never did. Then in about June, you could tell Daisy is the one who if she wants something, she won't go and do it. She'll want you to catch her and then be like, I don't want to go, and then go into it. And you started watching her where she's like, well, I did want to go in the backpack. Why didn't you put me into the backpack? And you put her in there and she's like, okay, I'll just sit in here. And she stopped whining. And that was a big milestone. And then after her backpack rides at night, and it would only happen at night. During the day, she does not want to go for a backpack ride. Then we would put her outside in the backpack and she would sit outside and watch with the other cats because they're always in their cage. We give them outside time, so it's like a window that they can, sit outside. We tried this with Diesel. He would cry and cry. So after his little backpack ride, we'd go, I don't know, a couple 100 meters out and come back in, and he was done. And we put him outside, see if he could do it. And every day it kind of got better and better. And after 4 months now, he still cries a little bit when he's in the backpack, but hardly at all. We'll stop and talk to him and kind of tell him, everything's okay, and he calms down. And then we put him outside. We don't leave him in the backpack because he has claws and he got out of the backpack once, so he has to go in the hard cage. And now he enjoys sitting out there. And the other day we tried to get him out of the backpack and he just said, no, I want to stay in. And we dumped him out, put him in the cage, and he was happy. You could tell he was happy that he was going to go out there and get to sit out and enjoy the dark time and listen to the crickets and see whatever they do when they're in their cages, and they really like it at night.
And the two feral cats, the Daisy and Diesel, originally they had a really hard time going in the cages. And Erica learned a nice pro tip from the vet.
Oh yes. When you want the cat to go into the cage, you turn them around and you put them in backwards. That way they can't put all fours out to stop themselves. At this point, we feel that the cats understand that they have a routine and they're comfortable with it, that they know during the day they sleep. Squeak always wants to go outside and sit in his cage. If it's not too hot, I'll put him outside in the cage during the day if I'm around. If not, when we come home from work in the evening, they know that they'll get to go in their cage, we're gonna eat, and then they're gonna walk on their leash and harness around dusk. Maybe a backpack ride, depending on where we're at. If we're in a busy campground and they get spooked, I'm not gonna walk them around. They're gonna have to be in their cage or being walked in the backpack. And then after that, we put them on the picnic table and let them sit out there at nighttime. We come in, we play laser light, and we go to bed. And they pretty much understand that routine now, and we feel that they're digging it. Like, this is my new life and it's cool. We're trying to find campgrounds that have lots of nature behind us, where the bunnies are going to come out, the squirrels, the birds, whatever. We put a bird feeder on the back window. We'll sprinkle bird feed on the ground, so the little animals will come over and the cats will have entertainment. It's like our little babysitters.
Another pro tip that we learned: when you have two cats like Daisy and Diesel, the feral cats, and they're in cages or meowing back and forth, constantly going back and forth.
Yeah, they just keep each other going. They're like meow, 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 meow.
If we can get one cat to calm down and stop, it won't feed the other one to keep meowing, and the other one will give up.
If you want to see how we set up our RV or how we travel in the truck with the cats, make sure you check the description below. And the products that we mentioned and a whole bunch more are also linked down there, so you can quickly find them.
If you want to follow along and more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. If you got value out of this video, hit the like button, and we'll see you in the next one.